Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I am doing the No Disclaimers book tag. This tag was created by Michael from Catalyst Reads, and I was tagged by Ali from Ali K, and I will link both of their channels down below. Question number 1 is, which tropes in books annoy you the most? And I have to say that I am getting really tired of the chosen one trope. I feel like at this point it's gone beyond a trope and has just become like the basic setup for the majority of books coming out because it's just so widespread, and I don't know, I'm not as drawn in by that idea anymore. I much prefer reading about characters who are not destined to save the world, but they do it anyway because they just decide to get it done. Question number 2 is, which writer or writers do you feel are overhyped? And for that one, I'm going to go with Rainbow Rowell. I've read, I think, 3 of her books at this point, and at the time I enjoyed them. They're not bad books, but I just feel like there are other writers out there who do similar stories and I think do a better job with them, and unfortunately don't get as much recognition. I'm talking about authors like Melina Marchetta, who is very popular in Australia, but who isn't as well known here in the US. Number 3 is, what are your least favorite books you've read since joining BookTube? And 2 of those were actually very recent. One of them was At Face Value by Emily Franklin, and that was a modern day retelling of Cyrano de Bergerac, and I hated that book. The main character was just so irritating, and it was that very like stereotypical, I'm not like other girls are so shallow and like I'm the only one who really cares about art and culture and all of that, and it's like I thought we'd moved past that, you know? And the other one is actually my least favorite book I read all year, and that was a very, very highly recommended novel, which was Night Film by Marisha Pessl. A lot of people love this and list it as their absolute favorite thriller or mystery of all time, and I think that's great. I really didn't like it. I hated the main character. He was kind of an idiot to me. Like, he was in his 30s, but he was making decisions that like even young kids would know were stupid, and it was just so frustrating. The mystery was not well developed. The writing style was obnoxious. Just everything about that book I did not like, and it was really, really long and boring on top of that. Number 4 is a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. And I actually don't own this book anymore because I unhauled it because the ending was that bad. And it's Vessel by Sarah Beth Durst. I was really, really enjoying this book, and the premise itself was just so interesting that I felt sure I would love the book overall. It's about a girl who has been brought up to be the vessel or the like physical incarnation of a goddess, and something about the ritual goes wrong. So she is shunned by her people, and she has to go on this journey basically to figure out what happened and to try and bring the goddess back, kind of. And this book is a great example of I think one of the only love triangles I have ever felt was justified, because one of the people she's traveling with is the incarnation of the god consort of the goddess. And of course those two start to develop feelings for each other, but it becomes really complicated because then there's the question of which version of her is this guy in love with? Is he in love with her because she represents the goddess, or is he actually in love with her as a human person, separate from that mythological element? I don't know if I'm explaining it very well. It was kind of complicated, but it was really interesting, and I was super invested in what was going to happen with this group of characters because I liked all of them and I wanted them to be happy. And then the ending happens, and the protagonist is just sort of fobbed off on this random side character who was completely flat and uninteresting. He had no personality, and it just felt like the main character was just written off to be in love with him so that we could resolve this like love triangle or square or whatever it was and just ignore all that complexity. And that really, really bothered me and really affected my feelings on that book. Question number 5 is, which fictional character do you wish had not been killed off? So I've already talked about, I think it was in the Grinch book tag, about a character in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy who I will forever be bitter about their death. But aside from that one, I'm actually going to go with an animal death, and that one occurs in Cart and Quitter in the Dalemark Quartet by Diana Wynne Jones. Now, I really, really love this book, but I just don't understand why we had to kill the horse. It was just like, it was so heartbreaking because obviously like you didn't see it coming, and there are plenty of other things in this book that are like emotionally you know, upsetting or that make you feel something. And I'm not saying that like the horse dying is like the saddest character death I've ever read. It was pretty depressing. Like, why'd we have to kill the horse? He was just doing his job. He never asked to be involved in any of this. Number 6 is what are some of your bookish pet peeves? One of those is the like second book breakup. Like, it seems in trilogies almost every time the main couple will sort of get together in the first book and then will either separate or break up in the second, only to get back together again in the third. And that just like really irritates me because they're clearly just stringing out that relationship and story across 3 books when it really should have been 2. And it's just, if your relationship can't sustain a 3-book arc, maybe don't have them get together so soon, you know? Number 7 is what are some books you feel should have more recognition? One of those is a book I think I actually read last winter and I'm still thinking about it, and that is The Wolf Wilder by Katherine Rundell. This is just the most magical and atmospheric story, and it takes place in Russia, and our main character Feodora, along with her mother, are responsible for training pet wolves who have been abandoned or released into the Russian wilderness to be wild again. So they teach them to hunt and to be wary of humans, and it's just the most wonderful story, and I don't know how to explain it. The writing is just so beautiful, and don't be fooled by the gorgeous cover because there are incredibly high stakes in this book, and there's this one confrontation scene at the end of the book that just, oh, it gives me goosebumps just to think about it, and I just love this book so much, and I highly, highly recommend it. Question number 8 is what are your thoughts on book censorship? And I think like a lot of people who really enjoy reading, I don't believe really in censoring books. I think there is value in age ratings or content warnings. You know, I think there is something to be said for warning people about what they're going into, and not just younger kids, but if, for example, somebody's unaware that a book contains sexual assault and they read that and that is really upsetting or damaging to them, whether or not it's based on personal experience, you know, I think that that is a kind of warning system that has value, and I think that should be more standardized. But as far as banning books, I don't believe in that. I think that it is up to the individual person to decide whether or not the content of a book is something that they can handle or that they want to try and handle. And I think when you're young, your parents can kind of help with that. But if you ban a book because its content is controversial, all you're going to do is make it more popular or make it more appealing to certain kids or older people to read. So if you're worried about a book actually damaging a society, I think one of the worst things you could do is to ban it. Rather, you should draw attention to the problematic aspects, and that will maybe encourage people to stay away from it for concrete reasons rather than just telling them, oh no, you can't read that, because then they might seek it out. Plus, look at some of the books that have been banned in the past. Things like To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, which was banned because it had the controversial opinion that racism or segregation was wrong. So I think as values change, a lot of the books that are banned are actually important ones to read. So that's another thing to consider. And finally, question number 9 is who do you tag? And I'm just gonna say anyone who sees this and who thinks that the questions are interesting like I did, I think you're tagged. You can officially say I tagged you. And in particular, I'm going to tag Rocky from Blonde with a Book because I'd really like to see what her answers are for these. Okay everybody, so that was the No Disclaimers book tag. Thank you again, Allie, for tagging me and Michael for creating such an interesting tag. You guys should let me know down in the comments what your biggest book pet peeve is because I'm always interested in those. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you soon with another one, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!